And where are you? There we go. Okay, you're connecting. You're not connected yet. Hey. So hello. Here you go. I know there's a way to change this whole like layout. I am not loving that. Speak
Yeah, I don't know nothing
second.
about this.
I'm trying. I'm still. It's a process. Somebody's gonna tell me. I'll ask. Anywho, hello, Yolanda.
Hi, friend.
All right. Hey. Lighting. I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out another time. I don't know. If somebody knows how to change this layout, please let me know so I can bring Yolanda up top. But right now, what we are going to do is we are going to be discussing the Parenting Decolonize um, conference that's coming up, Rona Racism and Radical Parenting. And I get to be the co-host, but I'm going to turn it over to Yolanda so she can give you a bit more, hey, Auntie, a bit more information in regard to it, since this is her brainchild and it's like the third annual one. And for the past 2 years, she has brought together the global majority speaking about parenting from all of these aspects of decolonization, suicide prevention, conscious parenting, equity in the homes, and so much more. So I'm going to turn it over to you, my love, while I figure out how to change that layout so we can see your face more.
Well, thanks for having me on, girl. Yes. So I am Yolanda. I am the host of the podcast, Parent Decolonized. And I created the whole thing because I realized that there was a huge void in the parent coaching space that did not include Black people. And when I first started looking into conscious parenting, gentle parenting, positive parenting, it was super white. And so I started my podcast, and then I told my friend Leslie from latinxparenting, I was like, I want to do a conference because I keep seeing these parenting conferences and they do not discuss things that actually impact me as a Black parent. So this is my third conference. I had 2 last year, and this is called Rona Racism Radical Parenting, because what I realized as we continue through this pandemic, we are fucking traumatized by this pandemic. Our
So
kids are traumatized by it, and we need a safe space to unpack that trauma, to talk through it from the perspective of the global majority. So um, the majority of my speakers are Black, and that's on purpose because we generally do not get more than 2 seats at any parent conference table. So I was like, no, my conferences will be 98% Black, and then brown people, and then white people. That's just on purpose. That's by design, because our voices are not heard enough in this space. As a matter of fact, I was on Instagram earlier and got tagged in a post, and the woman said something to the effect of colored people. She said colored people would have just beaten their children. And
like, where did we get that from, ma'am? You know how I feel about white people leading anything. It's impossible to be intersectional. No depth, no range.
listen, she wasn't even white. This was somebody that was a person of color, which we know that can be a huge, But the white woman whose post that was commented on, her response was, I think that's changing now, and tagged a few people. And I was like, you know what? Your response is real curious because you co-signed that racist ass response. And she was like, oh, thank you for calling me in. No, listen, I'm not trying to be your friend right now. What I'm trying to let everybody know is that y'all see us as violent people inherently. We know that this is not something that is inherent in us. We also know that this type of parenting was not practiced in the motherland for a
Correct.
long ass time. And so when I made that little video that got people all up in arms, where I said that we've been African Americans, descendants of enslaved people, have only been legally allowed to parent for the last 159 years, that's what I meant. Of course, other cultural things came, we preserved that, but that, the cherishing of our children, the brutality of traditional type parenting, that's all from the plantation. And so this conference is really about unpacking like how we decolonize and how we practice conscious parenting in an unconscious world where we are basically, our fears are valid. Our fears around parenting Black children are valid. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So we have to be willing to confront that fear and figure out how, I have this fear. My child can be snatched from me at any moment, and somebody might not even be held accountable for it. How do I then still parent from a place of liberation? How do I not center fear? And that's what this conference really is going to be
Right. And I think that that's super important, right? Because like I come at it from a decolonization counselor point of view, right? Like, so we have this idea of like, even when you say like traditional parenting, I really like the idea of more calling it plantation parenting, right? Hi, I can never say your name. We're trying to promote this parenting conference. So
Yeah.
no, not that one, because you had asked if you can amplify. So I appreciate you asking, but no, and damn sure not led by white women. Like I keep telling folks, like white women just started parenting this generation. You're not about to tell me shit about how to parent. So no. But I think that it really needs to be recognized that it is plantation parenting and it's parenting from trauma, right? Like I tell people, you can't parent from your place of trauma, your point of fear, right? I have this conversation even with my own husband. Like we have a son, so like he's so much harder on him, and I'm like, Black man,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot parent from your fear as a Black man, because then we are
Right.
just pouring that into him and not allowing him to be free and move through all of the things that he needs to move through in order to be a liberated Black man. Like I don't want to raise a son that feels like he needs to bow his head, tuck his shoulders, speak a little. I'm not, I'm a New Yorker, so we're not yes ma'am and none of that shit. We're not yes ma'am, no sir, no, because it's too reminiscent to me of plantation style, right? So it's really something, I think that it's really radical. Actually, what you're doing is putting those voices ahead and really like let's unpack this kind of parenting space. What does this look like if we
Yeah.
release? I cannot actually read these comments and talk.
Oh
Like
yeah, go ahead, and you might need to go through and delete a few people, block them.
I probably will. I'm gonna see if one of my mods will jump in. I didn't tell anybody I was going live. But what I was saying is that like we need to really pathologize, I'm always pathologizing whiteness and that violence. It comes through them before it ever gets to us, right? Like all that beating and violence, etc., has come out of their spaces and into us, and we've been socialized around them for almost 500 years. So
Yeah.
yes, we definitely need to be decolonizing as a country. That leads me though into a question, because I find it very interesting or curious, like, because all of our marketing stuff has been like Black, brown faces, right? Do you get a lot of like, oh, can white people come to this? Because white people damn sure need to be decolonizing. So, like, where do you land on that?
Yeah. So it's so funny when I say that white supremacy is, delusion, is the water, not the shark, right? Because it's all around us, it's everywhere, yet nowhere. And when we see a parent conference that is 98% white, no one blinks an eye. No one is really
Ever.
talking about it. The organizers don't see the issue with it. Yet, when I have my conference and I'm marketing it, and it is all Black everything, I get from white people, is this conference for me? Which I always find curious, because why wouldn't it be for you? What about seeing all these Black faces made you feel excluded? And also, can you understand why we would also feel the same way with the other ones? You know what I'm saying? So I purposely center Blackness in everything that I do, but especially on my page, especially my marketing. There are some white women who are on, one is on a panel, one has a workshop, another one is going to be on the main stage. That's it. We are, who is this person? They got to go. They're distracting me. You can't see the comments?
Just swipe your screen. Swipe your screen. Just swipe it to the right.
I can't.
Okay? Yeah, if you just take the comments and swipe it to the right, because that's what I'm about to do. Or is it left? Yes. Oh, yeah, my gosh. Please, let me, nope. Mona's going to mod.
Thank you, because it's creating a hostile environment, and that I don't work like this. I just don't. You can't be up around me being hateful and being ugly. You got to go.
Okay, I have 2 mods now.
Thank you. Get rid of Team Red. Get him out of here.
Oh my God, I love you, Erica. Thank you. 3.
I don't fuck around like that.
We don't fuck up around. Okay.
No, because if it's not a safe space, then we can't have this conversation. And that's my whole point, is us creating safe spaces where we are able to talk about this without that kind of person coming in and derailing the conversation and being a fucking racist asshole. You got to get the fuck away from me. I don't play around with that shit. I don't go back and forth with folks. I just block your stupid ass and I keep it going.
Well,
anyway, as I was saying, white supremacy is the water, not the shark. So we have to ask that question. What made you come to me and be like, oh, I wanted to make sure I could come? Well, why did you feel that? Because you saw Black faces. This conference is for everybody. White people have a lot of decolonizing to do as well. And your decolonizing work is different than mine, right? It's different in the sense of you also have to grapple with the trauma of whiteness from your parents, from learning whiteness from your parents. You have to unpack what being introduced into the system has done for your psyche. I just saw a tweet and this white person was just like, it's weird that white people feel like they can police everybody's movements. Like, I don't get that. And I was like, this is a vestige of enslavement. That's where that comes from. But when you're born into it, you don't even see it like that.
Absolutely. Haven made a really good point. We were on her podcast, and white people are the middle management of white supremacy, right? Like, they're the overseers, which is who they were anyway, right? Like, they were never wealthy enough to actually participate inside of it, right? Like, they weren't slave owners, and they didn't own people or anything, but they damn sure had their finger in every other aspect of it, right? Like, can I build the clothing, the ropes, like, can I oversee this? Can I become a cop? Can I be this? And they've continued and morphed and evolved into it. So, like, because they recognize if their hands are not in the pot, it would absolutely just be able to be dissolved. But then they don't know where their place actually would be in society. That's the real fear. It's like, where would they be without
that we're gonna do to them what they've been doing to us, and it's just like, we're not you. We've never brutalized people that way. And I just got a podcast, and what she said was really profound. She was just like, even without white people around us, we will police ourselves because of whiteness.
That's where the decolonization comes in.
Yeah, and that's where the decolonizing comes. That's in looking around, like, does this serve me? Because some of the things that we do as Black parents is maladaptive behaviors, born out of survival, born out of the way that we needed to keep our kids safe from not just the overseer on the plantation, but during Jim Crow, when you can literally get killed from being on the same sidewalk as a white person. So we have Black parents who are just like, you got to listen to me now. I can't explain shit. When I say stop, I need you to stop. When I say come here, I need you to come here. When I say don't do that, I need you to listen now. And that energy immediately, because it's survival, right? And that energy is the same energy that a lot of us still parent with. Sometimes, though, it's still necessary to have the energy. So we have to be willing to pause and look around and just be like, am I safe? Our bodies are going to want to keep us safe. I feel like a lot of the times some of this traditional parenting, this old school parenting, it's almost like an evolutionary, like our body's trying to protect ourselves from this invisible enemy that is whiteness. Our bodies are just like, you are not safe as a Black person in this anti-Black country. So I need to keep you safe. So we will start policing ourselves and policing our kids, telling them that they can't be loud outside. Don't run. Don't do this, that. And the threat might not even be there. It might not even be there.
Well, like to your point though, that white supremacy being the water, it's everywhere and nowhere. It feels like
it's everywhere, nowhere.
Because it could come out of nowhere. The surprise is like, surprise, here it is. And that surprise can be the end of your life, or very specifically your child's life. Like, we've seen this happen, and I don't really play out Black trauma for, like, I don't do trauma porn at all. So we already know that this exists. So, like, coming from that parenting point, I agree, like, parenting from that trauma is a problem. So, like, you know, that, somebody said, how do you put that sense of urgency
into your children
without harming them? And you just do. Like, you really just do, right? Like, I explain for my children, no, like, as far as like the listen now, because I do it more like, oh, you know, like if there's a car coming. Sometimes when I say something, that's how I do it. If I say, like, stop right now, we play red light, green light personally, right? Red light is a cease and desist. That's it. There is no more motion from that point. And so, but I taught it from a safety standard of that. Like, a car could be coming, or etc. You said what?
I love that.
Yeah. So we do it like that. So red light means cease and desist. As far as like consent issues or any of those kinds of things, I do safe words, which I think is something that more people should be implementing in their parenting, because like we have this very idea of like, no means no, but sometimes, you know, like sometimes it really doesn't. Like, it just doesn't, and there's a lot of nuance into that. So we implement safe words. So like, even when it comes to like somebody coming to them, they need to know their safe word in order for them to even trust that, you know, you even know who my folks are. You need to know their safe word. On top of that, I think that we don't think about children as adults, and one day they may be adults, and that sets them up for a healthier like sex life, kink, or whatever they may want to express, and having learned all of these boundaries and nuance and consent and all of the things. So that's my thing. You like that?
The thing with conscious parenting is it does teach you all of those things. It's inherent in the type of parenting, right? And I posted about this earlier. Like, conscious parenting protects your child against groomers and predators and abusers, because you are allowing them to advocate for themselves. They're able to tell you, hey, you hurt my feelings, or you yelled at me, or you shouldn't have hit me, right?
Yeah.
And that's being able to take that as a parent and not attack your child over it is a big deal, right? How many of us were able to tell our parents, you hurt my feelings, without getting more hurt, without more ass whooping, without more cussing out? We weren't. We had to internalize all that pain and figure out how to like deal with it on our own. I'm raising a child who will tell me when she's able to speak words. Right now, she tells me in her actions, because my daughter's autistic. She doesn't speak a whole lot of words. But I know when I've hurt her feelings. I know when I'm being harmful. She has a way of communicating that with me.
Yeah, nonverbal communication take that. Is a real thing.
Yeah, immediately it was disrespectful, and our, especially in the Black community, our definition of what is respectful and what is disrespectful is so fucking like, like advocating for yourself, disrespectful. Asking why, disrespectful. Right. You know, having any kind of voice, disrespectful. Showing any other emotion except for happiness and contentment is disrespectful. You should just be happy that you are alive and that you got a roof over your head. Absolutely the fuck not.
No,
that's like the difference between surviving. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. And that's why when people are like, I turned out just fine, I don't want to just be fine, bitch. I want to be like,
but did you?
You know what I'm saying? I want to thrive. I want to live. I want to be someone who like knows themselves. And at 42, I am pulling off the mask right now and figuring out who the fuck I am at 42. What does it feel like to fully live in my body and explore all my emotions and be able to advocate for myself at 42? My daughter's 4. I don't want that for her. I don't want her to go through this process. It's fucking painful. And I don't want her to do the process when she's trying to parent somebody. Like that shit is hard.
Somebody
parenting while you're parenting.
Is that related to plantation parenting? Yes, because again, we learned our plantation parenting from being on plantations here, and it was about survival. Even if you turn around and think about how we talk down quite often about our children, right? Like, well, because if I, like, now my son, he's 6 years old and he is like, I want to make some money. So he's like, he works out and he's like, I'm going to cut the lawn and I'm going to do this, that, and the third. So if you think about it, not too far long ago, like that epigenetic trauma, if I would be like, oh, my son is so strong. He is the most strapping 6-year-old I've ever met. Honey, they're coming to snatch my child and sell him. So it was survival to talk down on my son, right? Like that would have been, it would have made more sense in a survival state to be like, oh, he's not even that smart. Boy, that boy is weak. He can't do a damn thing. He could barely cut grass right. What kind of fucking, and now he's a useless commodity to whiteness, but now my son has internalized that. He has internalized that I think that he is less than or less capable. And so, like, we need to be recalibrating that. This is what I mean about divesting from whiteness and recalibrating to censoring blackness, because we can't parent from that place and space, right? And like, there's other people in here who were like, you know, like from my Irish Catholic aunts. Yeah, I grew up Irish Catholic because we pathologize blackness all day long, and we always fucking have. This is why I'm like, let's pathologize whiteness and let's see where this all actually comes from. Is same, because in whiteness there is a hierarchy and you are property. White women and white children are still currently in 2022 the property of white men. And so you need to come into alignment. You need to look a certain way, act a certain way, wear your hair a certain way. If not, it's disrespectful. If your children are an extension of you, not in this beautifully organic spiritual way, that they are something that's legacy to be passed on. Like, I hope that what I'm doing is legacy work that lives on through my children, who will continue to do work such as this. But no, as a commodity, as an actual thing, as a return on investment. And so because whiteness created a system of people being commodities, starting with white people, this is where we are. So we're all parenting from this like upper level commodity space of like, if you can't give me something, if whiteness, everything is transactional. So back to what Yolanda is saying, like, oh, well, you got a roof over your head and food in your belly. Apparently this is supposed to be a transaction. I decided to have children, but them eating and having a stable home and food secure should be transactional. That is really some deep decolonization work that we are going to be getting into and diving into in the conference. And Mona has the link. Mona, if you could share those links every so often, just so people could see it. So if they do want to purchase the link, that would be dope. So y'all could show up. But yeah, we have to really be looking at where are these systems coming from and then learning how to divest from them so we can all be parenting from a liberated space, because we're also not parenting for the past, because this is not the world that we're raising our children in. These kids now, these 7 and 8-year-olds are tearing adults' asses up with the knowledge. So we can't be parenting from the past. We have to be looking ahead, and what are we setting our children up for, so they, like Yolanda just said, are not trying to unlearn this when they're parenting. Like, wait a minute, what?
Because it's fucking, then it becomes difficult. Then as a conscious parent, I'm trying to be parent myself. As I'm trying to parent, I'm also having to pay off. I'm trying to adult, like all these things. And it creates roadblocks to be able to be patient with your kids, to be able to be empathetic towards them. Yeah. Your brain can only do so much processing, right? Our brains are only able to, I think 95% of our actions are subconscious actions throughout the day, right? So when we expand that, whenever we are more conscious than our brain wants to be, it is tiring. It makes us cranky.
It's taxing.
And it does. Work. It makes us. It's taxing because your brain actually wants to be on autopilot. It's easier, which is why that popping a child is much easier than talking to a child or controlling the environment so the child doesn't get into the thing that's making them unsafe. But when we have that's why I say a lot of this is privileged parenting, because if you have the privilege of not growing up with a violent background, right? So violence is in your set point. My set point, I start, like, my first thought is a violent thought. I have to work against my childhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to work against that to be a conscious parent. And that shit's hard. It's taxing and it's hard.
I think that you said hard, like it feels damn near impossible, Yolanda. It
impossible. And that's
and
why
overwhelming.
that's where the conscious part comes in, though. And that's why I don't use gentle parenting. I use conscious parenting because it is fucking hard. And that's where the conscious part comes in. The consciousness of, this is hard for me. I don't know how to do this. I
Hold
don't
on a
have
second,
anyone
Yolanda.
around me.
Somebody just said that their son is special needs. Could you just tap into that really quickly? Because you have a ton of panelists on there that deal with people with various needs. If you could just do that.
Yeah, I do. First of all, my daughter's autistic, in very limited words. I have Natasha Nelson from Supernova Mama. She's going to be talking about sensory play and why that's what, for all kids, but especially for neurodivergent kids, why that's necessary to do and how to do it in a cheap way, in a way that anyone can do in their homes. There's also Heather Clark from the Learning Advocate. She's going to have a workshop on the IEP process. So much of that, especially for Black children, a lot of parents don't understand that process. She's going to be demystifying that and helping folks figure out the IEP process if their children are in public schools. And I believe there's one more, but I drew a blank. Because I have an autistic daughter, everything that I do is from a place of harm reduction. So this whole experience, this whole conference will be centered for Black children who are also neurodivergent, because that's what my experience is. So all the communication stuff, all the stuff around HR Mom. She is, Melissa from HR Mom is going to help parents who have ADHD and or have children with ADHD learn how to function as a team and use things like Alexa to help the household run better. As someone with ADHD, I'm over here fucking on the struggle bus.
Listen,
So
I survived by Alexa.
That's the thing.
I have Alexa reminds me that to drink water, right? Like, so I'm excited for HR Mom's portion.
I think it's only called gentle parenting because parenting is rough. So it's really called gentle parenting. It's a way for you. It's like, I want to react gently to my kids and not from a place of like harshness and stuff like that. So I get it. It's centering the children though, and I need to center me. And that sounds selfish, but it's not, because if I'm not okay, if I'm not conscious of my mood, my mindset, my socioeconomic status, how racialized trauma has affected me, how my childhood trauma has affected me, then I will not respond gently because I don't have the background. I don't have anyone modeling it to me.
Awareness. You're not
and the awareness.
You're not.
And so if I'm unable to recognize that, like in the moment, like I know at 9:00, my shit, I'm done with parenting. I don't want to be a parent no more. I'm tired, right? And so I know, because I'm conscious of that. 9:00, no more spoons. I'm tired as fuck. It's time to shut it down. I can then make a game plan for how to handle when I am getting triggered. Same thing as when I am super stressed out. This conference has been so stressful for me. And I have been acting an ass sometimes with my daughter. Just really snappy, just really impatient. And me being cognizant of the fact that, hey, when you are overly stressed, this is how you react. What are you going to do? Because I can't control her. And I feel like a lot of gentle parenting things are like tips and tricks. Here's how to tame a tantrum, and here's how to get your child to listen to you. And listen, you can't do none of that shit. You know why? Because you can only control it too.
Let me tap into that. Because again, gentle parenting is white-led. And white-led things are not intersectional. And because whiteness exists in this cerebral space and addicted to happy, it's still coming, because it's not coming from a conscious place. It's still coming from a place of making things work for white supremacy. So tips and tricks like, yes, how to move through, how to be the perfect mom, even when your child's a little asshole, is basically what it is. And it's like, like, oh, they're upset. It's okay. They could be upset. Just keep speaking gently. And it's like sometimes firmness and boundaries and like that awareness. Like I tell people, it's okay to be selfish, right? Because like selfless is not what I'm trying to be. It's not. Because selfless means less of me. And selfish means a little bit of me. So like my kids, I have 3 of them, 10, 6, and 3 at home. And they definitely have a tendency to be assholes because they're humans, not because they're kids. because I'm an asshole sometimes. And so I'm like,
Right.
hey, so I can see that you are obviously in a mood. You might want to take some space because I'm gonna take some space. I'm gonna take a moment because I can't do this right now. And then being aware, like you said, like in that having that awareness, I'm like, look at okay, so the way that my brain processes, that's the conversation we have. I'm like, the way that my brain processes, all three of y'all moving is too much. I had this conversation once in a stitch with Casey Davis. Is like, I'm not the indoor parent. I don't have it. I can't. Y'all all moving around in the same space at the same time is too much for me. Right? But my husband's good at that. But I'm the outdoor parent. They could be running the streets and it does not bother me. Like I'm like, ooh, you're free and that but that gives him anxiety. So having that awareness of who you are, how you operate and move about will then also not only is it going to make you a more conscious parent, it allows them to become a more conscious being, right? Because you're literally
person. Real quick, Holly 726. If you have a question, you can ask it without all that shit. We are telling how it relates to color. And what I'm not as patient as Desiree.
I'm not about to do that because you can't.
I'm not as patient as Desiree. I just block motherfuckers and keep it moving.
No. I do too. Oh no, okay. Yolanda, all of that. And why the hell would you relate that to color with all those question marks? One, you should have followed me before you jumped.
No, she don't have to rephrase. She can get the fuck out of here.
Nah, she's good. Block her. Thank you. No, I don't need no clarity. She was clear.
If you want to engage with us, you're not going to talk to me like I'm crazy. You're not.
Yeah, she was clear. Like, if she doesn't understand that, she's not out of space where I don't do racism 101. I don't. I don't
fuck around with that. I don't be on this app going back and forth with
you probably either follow myself or you follow Yolanda. And, like, I don't need, all of that. Yeah, question marks. Thank you. Thank y'all for blocking. Anyway, moving along.
Anyway, back to what we were saying.
Let's off that energy. So when you
listen, I just block and move. I don't fuck around with these people. If you have a question and you want to ask it, if you're trying to figure out, like, listen, I don't understand how this relates to race, ask the fucking question. Just don't do it with all that extra spiciness. I'm not a maid. I don't work for you. Don't talk to me like that. Period. Yeah. So anyway.
The thing about opening up to the expansiveness of self is, like, even with the work that I do here with decolonization, is that the more that we are in touch with who we are as people, the more you want that for other people. And those other little people, those people are little people. So it's like, if you are actually like, okay, you know what, guys, I'm tapped. I'm tapped right now, so I need 5 minutes. They will also learn some type of self-regulation. You don't need tips and fucking tricks on how to calm your kid. Listen, I got 3 of them. I don't got 30 minutes to sit down and do that with each one of them. That's an impossible world. And it really is, like somebody said, like a live, love, laugh type of parenting, where I could turn around to all 3 of them and be like, okay, come on, guys, deep breaths. Okay, mommy's done. My mind, my brain is just like overworked. I'm going to need 5 minutes of silence. And I will tell my Alexa to set that timer. And can we sit with that? And they have learned to do that for themselves. Like, when they are tapped out, they're like, I'm done. I'm out. Like, yo. And we say, I'm going to take space. Like, my 3-year-old will be like, I take a space and go inside and close her door. That's another thing.
But you're normalizing your own humanity too, because I think that's a big issue with traditional old school parenting. Is I am above you in this hierarchy, and I am this all-knowing and never wrong being, and I'm never going to apologize to you, and I'm never wrong, and you don't get to see me sweat, you don't get to see me cry, you don't get to see me. Listen, I'm a human being. I cry, she sees my full range of emotions, and when I make a mistake and I cause harm, I apologize every single fucking time. But I'm modeling to her that mom is a human. And what my friend Janelle does really well, she's also going to be in the conference, Janelle Scales. What she does really well is the way she talks to her kids. She says to them when they don't want to do something. So let's say she's like, asked them to clean the kitchen. And they were just like, well, we don't feel like it right now. We want to go outside and play. And she was like, listen, I'm not going to have the energy to go outside and play with you because I'm going to go in here and do these dishes. So if you want me to come outside and play with you, then you need to come and help me and contribute to keeping this house clean. And that way it's explaining, like, I'm not your superwoman. I'm not the kind of girl that you can let down and think that everything is okay. I'm only human. Okay. Hey. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm gonna do one better though, Yolanda, because we got 100 people in here. Like I joke with them, I'm like, yo, there's 5 of us. This shit feels like a fucking group home, okay? And then back to your conscious parenting. I was in a group home when I was younger. So that shit triggers some deep ass trauma. And like, I don't like people to touch my shit because you can never have your shit in a group home, right? Like your shit is in a bag in your little, in your bunk, so nobody touches your shit. So I'm already, because I'm aware of that, I'm activated by that. Like this shit is too crowded and it feels like a group home and I don't like that, right? So like I invite ease into my life. We don't even have, like my husband refuses to allow them to do the dishes. I'm like, yo, go bust those suds. So I was like, you know what? Here's how we meet in the middle. We got paper plates on subscription, fam. Those shits just show up on the front door like, hey, say less. Say less. There's only utensils to wash, and we are all the way good with that. Like, so even that, right? Like, because sometimes we get stuck in like even ideas of allowing ease into our life. Like, well, we need to have eating on these dishes or eating paper plates, fam. Paper plates. They got one bowl, one cup, one spoon. Like I'm like,
Listen, I asked parents. I was like, "What can you do?" Especially if you're trying to conscious parent, you have to invite ease. Especially if you have a background of trauma. Especially if you are someone who is maybe financially strapped right now. You have to figure out, what can I outsource? What can I delegate? What can I say no to?
Right.
If you ask yourself those 3 questions, what can I outsource? What can I delegate? And what can I say no to?
Let me write that.
It creates ease in your life. So I know for me, a bitch does not do laundry. I'm not fucking doing it.
Hold on a second. No. Those were good. I want that again. Hold on. What?
Okay. What can I outsource? What can I delegate? And what can I say no to? Those are the 3 questions that you can look around and invite your kids to do this with you. What can I outsource? What can I delegate? And what can I say no to? We keep ourselves busy with all the yeses that we give to people. And then we're wondering why the fuck we're so tired and yelling at our kids because we've said yes too much. There's no space. We're tired, right? So like, what can you say no to? I said no to laundry. So I made sure that I budget $100 extra to go get my laundry fluffed and folded at the laundry place. And all I got to do is put that shit up. You know what I'm saying? I also invested in like handheld vacuums and handheld like shampooers. That creates ease for me because now when she makes a hot ass fucking mess, I'm not screaming because I'm exhausted as being a single mother. I'm not like, oh my God, it's too much. I can just take that little ass vacuum and get her crumbs up and it's not a thing. I also make sure that everything is washable, all her crayons, her markers, her paints. So when she does make a mess, because she fucking will, it's not the end of the world.
That's inevitable. It's just not. Hold on. Put a pin right there. Because that thing is that underneath those pillars of white supremacy, that perfectionism, even with your home, right? Like this idea, like we're going to clean it up. The mess is going to happen again. That's inevitable. So why are you stressed about that? Somebody else said, what can I say no to? Thank you. I got to think about what I could say no to and let it go. Yeah. And I'm going to plug the parenting conference again. You're going to learn all those tips and tricks.
What we're going to be doing is investigating why you. So my whole goal is uncovering, unpacking, and mad question asking. Okay, uncovering, unpacking, and mad question asking, bitch. That's my job.
What is it? Say it again. Say it again.
Uncovering, unpacking, and mad question asking. Like that's my job. I want to know why.
I just want you to know. Hold on a second, because I'm letting you know right now. I'm about to build a course based on that shit.
You stole my shit. No, it's yours.
I'm definitely taking that one, and I will give you all the credit. I'm giving you the credit right here, right now. But I'm definitely, because that shit just sounds like me uncovering, unpacking, a mad question
asking. Because if we understand the why of why we do things, it's easier for us to come with solutions. You may not, if you are somebody that needs cleanliness, that's okay. That's okay. So now you have to figure out, what can I do? What can I control? And why do I need it to look a certain way, right? It's okay to need cleanliness, but does it have to look the way that you need it to look? So for instance, my niece, she tends to keep a messy room. So do I. So my whole thing is when Gia gets older and she's as cluttered as I am, it's her room. I'm closing the door. As long as you're not up in there and there's not rodents and roaches and you can get around safely, it's your room, sis. You do you.
Yes.
I'm going to close your door if it bothers me. And I'm going to just make sure the common areas are taken care of. Me and you can work together as a team to make sure the common areas are together. But if that's a necessity for you, then it's like, what can I do? Not what your kids can do, but what can I do to create an sort of a system so there is order and cleanliness the way that I like it in this way. And sometimes your children will resist that because it's not their way of doing something. Because remember, they're autonomous beings. They may not have the same level of cleanliness as you do. So that sometimes is where you can butt heads, and you got to figure out, like, how do we work together?
This is activating, but this is why I like your idea of like the question, like what is activating about it, right? Like I told you, I have 3 of them, right? So like we do the laundry, this and the third. Now my 10-year-old, like I'm going to give this anecdote, not a tips and trick, but like an anecdote of how to bring it all together. Because I need things to make sense. So if I have to join in on this, community thing, I need to know where it goes. So each of the kids have the same dresser. Like 3 drawers, that's it. Top one, I split that in half. Here's your underwear, and your socks kind of thing, right? So like whatever, like underwear, tank tops, socks, or whatever. I guess eventually if she ever decides to wear a bra because her body, her choice. But like top drawer is for undergarments, period. Middle drawer is for pajamas. Bottom drawer, left is for pants, right is for shirt. And that is the only thing where I'm like, that needs to make sense for me. Because again, back to like centering each other in the community. So it needs to make sense for me as well. Or if your dad goes and puts away the clothes. So we have a system that works for all of us. But now my son folds his shit military precision. Do you hear me? This boy could be in fucking retail. He's like, doot, 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 doot. The 10-year-old, she's just chucking it in. She's just like, whatever. And the 3-year-old, like I said on Casey's live, like lives out of the basket. She just doesn't even care because she's changing her clothes 15 times a day because she swears. So like, there's that middle ground, right? Or like, even like for the toy picking up, because I'm not the one that's like, your room could be absolutely terrible. I'm like, like, let's keep your environment clean and clear because like, it usually makes it better for you to move around, and it's a safety issue. I don't make it a moral issue. Even though I recognize, back to being like conscious, I recognize it's absolutely my own fucking psychosis, right? But I'm like, hey guys, you could trip if you had to get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. And then this way it saves my sanity. I'm a cubby mom. So like they're cubby, hey, just pick the shit up and put it in cubbies. I don't care. Just get it off of the floor. So there's also ways to kind of have antidotes that mesh both people's needs. For me.
Yeah, fuck a matching sock. I don't match socks. I stopped matching socks.
About matching socks.
Fuck that. My mom is like, why does this baby got 2 different socks on? I was like, why does it matter? It's socks. She got socks on. That's it. Her feet are covered. Who gives a shit? I don't care. And that's a big part of this too, is the unlearning respectability. When we talk about, especially as Black parents, when you start to really uncover, because respectability is really just about the white gaze. It really is. So when you start to uncover how much we do.
Hold on, wait. I want to just address Cassie. I am so sorry. I did not mean to bring that up to you. Like, I mean, if they talked to me and they were like, hey, this makes more sense to me, they could do that. But like, since I've been doing that, I've set that stage since they were babies. Like, I've always had their drawers set up like that, like, diapers, whatever, this and other thing. It just it's just been a part of their culture, not necessarily something that was forced. It's always been set that stage before they even understood what the fuck clothes were or were dressing themselves. But so I'm sorry though if that brings up anything, since you got in trouble for it. Yes, back to you, Yolanda. The white gaze. Fuck that.
Yeah, so the white gaze plays a big part in a lot of how a lot of our parents parented. And their parents parented. And again, this is a maladaptive form of protection because they had to keep themselves safe. And when we start looking at parenting through the generations of Black parenting, it's like after enslavement, it was the Reconstruction era, violent as fuck, right? as fuck. And then Jim Crow, just as violent, if not more violent because of the laws that got put into place. So again, very maladaptive behaviors. Then it's the civil rights movement, very violent. We're talking about there's just violence after violence after violence.
Why
And then
is
what do
it
we get?
violence,
We get the crack era. We get the drug era. Let's just say no to drug era. That is also violent in a different way. Communities have been destroyed because of
Yes.
this violent and it's just like we carry that trauma inside of us. So a lot of the stuff that we do is fear of that violence, of racialized violence. And that is where the respectability comes in. If I look a certain way and speak a certain way and present a certain way, I'm safe. I'm a safe Black person. It's just like, no, the fuck you're not. You're
Yeah.
still Black and you will be targeted because of that shit. And so having that awareness that, again, that valid fear, but how do we walk that tightrope between fear and liberation and make sure that we are centering harm reduction and centering liberation, even though we have this deeply ingrained and very valid fear? I'm never going to tell us that it's not a valid, like we shouldn't be fearful.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm never going to say that because that would be unwise. It is a thing, but we just got to figure out how to navigate it. And especially, I have a disabled child who doesn't speak, who's autistic. I'm making sure that she's not going to go to school out here. Arkansas is one of the 19 states where it's legal to hit children in school. I don't want to burn that bitch down because I will. Okay. I'm not calling the police on certain things.
No.
I'm fighting you.
Yes, correct.
I'm it's street justice. I'm fucking fighting you. So by the time I get out of here, out of Arkansas, I hope to be on our land for, in our matriarchal village where she's able to like run and be free and have a liberated sort of unschooling environment. Because I know out here, she goes to a developmental preschool. She's safe there. Outside of that, going to a regular kindergarten, well, she might be targeted, where she might be harmed. I don't want to go to jail. She needs a mother.
I think a lot of the answers is what you're talking about, though, right? That, like a matriarchal village. And I know that sounds like so cliche, but the truth of the matter is we're all indigenous in somewhere. We all have indigenous practices, and we were all tribal, and we were all matriarchal. I don't give a fuck where you come from. That is just how it had been, because it's heart-centered. It's sacred. It's held and embodied, right? And so, like, even like, because people have asked me that before, I'm like, even if you can't get up and go like dip and go buy some land, you could recreate that in your own neighborhood. I've given examples on other lives, is that like, I'm like, let's talk about it from that decolonization and divesting from whiteness. On my block, there's 20 houses. We don't need 20 lawnmowers. Like, so you could create this without this, like, because I think people like romanticize, like, oh, like, yo, we're all going to get up and like have tiny houses in the land. And that would be fucking great, because I want that myself. But even if that's not a reality for you at the moment, you can create that within and then fight against. Like, if you guys are so into those voting, like when they start doing things, you guys really be letting your anti-blackness get in the way of your liberation. That racism just be kicking your ass. Right? Man. Like when you see laws that are like against home daycares and stuff, you yourself are walking yourself into more of an isolated state of white supremacy. Because who was doing those home daycares? Who was the big mama of your neighborhood? Who was that person that watched all of the kids? And now it's fucking illegal. And now you got to fucking pay $600 a week for $600. Fuck these kids. Hey man, they will stay home.
2:00. Listen, 2:00. I started getting up and getting ready to go get my friend's daughter from school. She posted on Facebook and she's like, I don't know what we're gonna do. My husband and I both work. We, 3 days a week, we don't have anyone to pick her up from school and take her to the child development center. And I was just like, it's in the middle of my day, but I have the privilege of time. I have the privilege of being able to work for myself and make my own schedule. So Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays, I go pick her kid up and take her to the CDC for her, because that is what community does. Community care is how we move forward in this. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like we don't know how to be a village. We think we do, We think we know what a village looks like, but we don't. We don't know how to be not harmful with each other yet. And that's okay. We can learn that though. And that's why I want to create a safe space like this conference where we're able to come into community with one another and learn from one another. Because it's not just me up there talking at y'all. These aren't just experts either. These are community activists.
Yes.
People who are doing this work actively, giving you suggestions. And then, there's going to be places where you can go and like talk to each other about this. And it's important that we understand that these systems only function because we allow them. It doesn't feel like that, but it's true.
Just that simple. That simple. But hold on,
just that
in
simple.
right there, because I want you to know, like, very similar. Why I'm like choosing to like yes, I definitely want to co-host this, parenting conference and wanting to work with Yolanda is because very similar to me, her and my ethos match, right? She's not like, oh, here, pay for this conference, I dip out. She also has an entire, like, her Facebook platform is huge and has a parenting group and collective that her and Damani, right?
Damari.
Thank you. I knew it. I knew it that her and Damari host, and I was a part of that, and it was like absolutely amazing. So like just being mindful too, like of the people that you work with in certain things. Like, are people just like, yeah, come to this conference, come on and give me $150. All right, 3 days, you're gonna be a good parent. Thank you. No, yeah. It's like, come to this conference, get like a wealth of information from all of these people. We do have, like, we're going to name drop TheConsciousLee is coming through, Tony Neighbors of Racial Equity Insights.
Dr. Rachel Martin.
Dr. Rachel Martin. Like, there's
Raquel.
See, okay, my brain. Like, so many people are coming through. And if you follow either one of us on IG or on Facebook, you're going to find that out. But more importantly is the follow-up care. Because anybody could diagnose some shit and anybody could tell you, hey, this is your problem. All right, peace. But she literally cultivates, so please follow her. Is my whole point to this, is that please follow her and join her learning spaces collective, because
we need aftercare.
Yeah, you need aftercare. You can't have that. It's the same exact reason why I have the online healing communities, because I could talk to y'all all day about this. Okay, what are you going to do? Twiddle your thumbs afterwards? No, you need aftercare. You need support. You need to be held. And the link is in the bio. Go on and get that. It's in my bio. But yeah, back to what you're saying.
I just want to say too. Well, I just want to say too, like, a lot of people, especially on this app, are people who might be looking into being an entrepreneur, or people who work.
Oh, Cassie said she's a better parent.
I know, and I really appreciate that, Cassie. And I really want to just encourage people the same energy we put into making money, into learning how to be a better partner, into learning, into capitalism. Can we put that same energy into parenting? Because I feel like we have these kids and we're like, this is hard. And then it's just kind of like, well, what you going to do about it? Who are you listening to? Who are you following? What courses are you taking? And if you can't afford a course, that's okay. There's podcasts. I have a podcast called Parenting Decolonize. Like, that's a free resource. What pages are you following to get free resources from if you can't afford to do something like a conference? But when I hear people, I got laughed at for reading a parenting book. And it's weird to me because this is one of the hardest things you will ever do in your life.
But I'm going to tell you where it comes from. It comes from whiteness, because it acts like it's a right? Like, we have people here that share adoption trauma and all. You don't have the right to be a parent. Like, that shit is crazy. That is a privilege. Period, point blank. In and of itself. If you are even able to conceive, carry, and have that child, that is a whole ass privilege in and of itself. Yeah. And you not honoring that privilege by trying to be the best version of yourself that you could be for that person, you should not have children. It is not a fucking right because you bear a uterus. It's not a right because you could buy a child through adoption. You have no rights. It's not an entitlement. And white supremacy told you that because it's made women very much, and then this is how we get into turfiness. But again, because whiteness has made people commodities, it tells you that you are less than if you don't have a child. And I love that more people are waking up to this and like, no, I actually would be a terrible mom. Like, I don't want kids.
Or people who are like, I don't want to bring my kids into this.
Whatever. Like, it's a privilege. And if you're going to treat it like it's a privilege. Like, you want to know more about it.
Yes.
Like, you want to be around other people that parent in a similar way. I don't have friends that kick their kids' ass. I don't. Because, like, my thing is pushing people to the fringes. Like, I don't even want to give you attention. I'm going to just keep calling out your bullshit behavior. And I'm going to push y'all so far to the fringe that nobody is fucking with you no way. Y'all are just a bunch of fucking people at the edge.
Well, I knew, but through modeling, right, and through creating community, I found people who are just like, no, we don't do that over here. And so when I see people who are just like, well, my friend still does this, should I say something? You should.
Absolutely.
If they're your friend, then and if you can't talk to your friend with honesty, without attacking, there's ways to talk to people about this type of parenting without it feeling shameful. My mother I used to get my ass kicked, but as a grandmother, she hasn't touched my child. She has not.
Look at that.
And I love the relationship.
You, though.
I love that relationship that they have, that she's had to learn. My mother has had, at her big age, had to learn how to be a conscious grandparent, right? Because before that, it was your grandparent also got to smack the shit out of. Your grandparent also got to cuss you out. Your extended family also got to do this. And that was what the village was.
People love to remind us of how the neighborhood could kick our ass.
The neighborhood kick your kids. That's the village everybody misses. And it's like, absolutely the fuck not. If your village includes harm, it is not the village I'm ever going to live in. You're not invited to my village if you think harm is the only way children can learn and be in community with them. And I also don't fuck with people who say I hate children either. I don't give a shit. No. You are a dangerous person, because children are the most marginalized group of people in the world. They exist. They are the most marginalized group of people in the world. They exist at every intersection: race, gender, sex, right? Ability, class. So when we talk about how we hate them, you might as well just say, I hate Black people. It's the same fucking thing. I hate children. You are a bigot if you hate children. Yeah. You cannot like being around them. You don't have to have them. But to hate people for absolutely just existing is a dangerous mindset to have. I don't trust you. Yeah. And if you say you hate children and are part of a liberation movement, no, the fuck you're not. Yeah. Because you cannot say Black Lives Matter while you going home and smacking the fuck out of your kid. That is the antithesis of Black Lives Mattering. We have to think about the fact that if we, that quote that says, if women are free, by the Combahee River Collective, if Black women are free, that means that everyone else would be free, because it means that basically the system of oppression's folded because Black women are free. But I really think it's if Black children are free. I agree. Because if Black children are free, because adults are not ready for liberated Black children. They're just not.
Also, hold on a second. And again, because I want to stress, because I've been really talking, and I'm going to continue talking about anti-Blackness. Black across the board throughout communities, not just Black American. Your darkest version in your community, your most marginalized. You want to know what liberation is needed in your community? Go to the most marginalized person. The most marginalized person is
that's a trans Black child.
A trans Black disabled child. That's and so centering in your community, whatever that looks like for you, right? It do not process Blackness only by Black American. I mean the person most impacted in your community by systems of white supremacy is where you are going to find your answer to liberation, period.
Because if you center harm reduction around the most marginalized amongst us,
you're going to get free.
All of us get free. That's how we all get free. It's centering the liberation of the most marginalized, and that is children. They are the only group of people that you can legally hit. They are the only group of people who are forced to do things that they don't want to do. And yes, going to school, if your parent can get jail, you can get jail for not going to school. That's forced learning. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not saying education is not important. What I'm saying is no one else is forced to do things that they don't want to fucking do. Exactly. The fact that we can just hit our children, that teachers and administrators can hit our children without recourse.
We don't even see them as people.
We don't see them as people.
Still treated as absolute
as property.
Like, my kids are finally going to school this year, and like, but it was like a family discussion, like a family discussion. Like, hey, so this is what I'm thinking. You know, like I said, Erin is 10. And like, I'm not even putting her, like, you know, I'm not even putting her, she should be, I guess, like in 5th grade or some shit. But she's an autist and she has a lot of things that she stems with. And I'm like, yo, I found a school that would meet her needs. One, first and foremost, I found a school that was predominantly Black taught, with Black women with natural hair, like coming out of their head, the same exact way as her, with a lot of Black men teachers, with cool down rooms, autism aware, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm putting her in 3rd grade. That's releasing constructs, right? Like, oh, she's 10 in the 3rd grade. Yeah, but it's going to meet her social need. I don't give a fuck about her, how anything else. Is she going to be able to go in there and stem and be weird and be herself and just be free because socially she's at that level? Yes. And that's much more important to me than her being somewhere where I'm gonna have to go. I'm from the hood, you know what I'm saying? Like, me and my husband damn sure going to jail about our baby. So my son is being held a little bit more back, right? Like, he's like, I don't know if I'm ready. All right. So I put him on a waiting list. The 3-year-old, she's ready, like today. She's like, are we going to school today with my friends? But these conversations can be had. And again, I think that it's very important to stress that Yolanda is very well aware and very much says that it is a very privileged space to come from that type of parenting, right? Like, because we're able to have this conversation because I'm working from home with my towel wrapped in my head. So, you know what I'm saying? We're not forced out the door at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work. And this is how all those systems of white supremacy are at play in completely suppressing us from liberation. Because you can't think if you can't think. You can't be conscious if you don't have
if you can't think.
You can't. You can't think if you can't.
People fight me on that. They fight me on the whole privilege part because they only recognize race privilege and they don't recognize ability, time. No, they don't recognize that you being able to parent this way requires you to be able to unpack some of your trauma. Some people don't have time for that shit because they have to work 11 jobs, you know? And so you can't go. Damn dog.
But then,
and so
that's community. That's community, though. That's why the community is needed, because somebody's able to be an auntie at home. Somebody's able to help kind of, you know, manufacture these things. Yolanda, are you on your way to go get the baby girl?
I am.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then let's wrap it up so you don't have to be distracted and driving and shit like that. So listen, get the tickets. Links is in my bio. Follow Yolanda here on TikTok. Definitely on Facebook. Come to the conference. There's it's early bird special. I think there's a split payment option. If that's not something that you could even do, but then join her. You said what?
No, I said there's a split pay option. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there's a split.
I said, there's a split.
Okay, got you. So there is all of that. All of that. The point is, it's as accessible as it can be, and we can still keep these lights on. You know what I'm saying? And also she has major aftercare. So follow her on Facebook with Parenting Decolonize, and join her group. Join her parenting support space. Yolanda, close it out. Say what you got to say, fam. I think you're broken up. It's a wrap. Thank y'all.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Desiree. I really appreciate it. And y'all, please check out the conference. Like I said, it's happening 23rd to 25th. It will be recorded. So if you can't make it on those dates, you can still experience the recording. It'll be in the recording is also going to be in podcast form. So you can either watch or listen. Well, and it's also going to be hearing accessible. I'm not saying that right. It's going to be accessible for the hearing impaired. The conference will. If you get the all access pass, which is $159 with the early bird, that one is where you can access all the workshops. And the workshops are going to be for people who really want to do some hands-on group coaching with people like latinxparenting, who is going to be doing a reparenting workshop. My girl Damari, who's going to be doing a how to transition to conscious parenting. If you've been whooping your kid's ass and you're trying to figure out how to not, you don't know how, that's the workshop you want to take. And like I said, the IEP workshop, the ADHD workshop, there's going to be some somatic healing, that somatic movement sessions that Desiree's going to help with. And I'm even going to have a teenager discussing with us, like, what it means to have it, like, this is what it looks like for a liberated teenager to exist. And so really hope y'all can make it. And we'll be doing this a few times until it's time for us to be on the conference, just so people can be aware of what we're talking about. For the vision impaired. That would be, Cassie, yes, if you could help me with that, that'd be super helpful, because I don't have, right now, it really is me and Desiree doing all the like admin work, and most of it is me because it's hard for me to delegate right now. And so I don't have the time to do all the alt text. So I would love your help with some of that. I'll definitely contact you. Or can you? No, I don't think you can send me a message.
I can absolutely. Cassie and I are in contact. She's also in my healing community, and me and Cassie can handle that. Since I have access to all of the things, it's okay to not martyr yourself.
Okay, good.
See, look at that.
Damn, dog does not want to go in the house.
Where's the conference? It's an online conference.
It's virtual
through the 25th, and the link is in me bio. That you can go on and grab that. So yeah. She's getting in the car, and I'm going to go grab some lunch. Thank you, guys. We're going to go live again a couple times.
Yes, we will.
Here.
Yes.
And if you miss it or you're just joining in right now, when I'm able to download this, it will be up on my YouTube. You could go find me on Desiree B. Stevens, so you can get all of that information. And I may even upload it to my podcast, Let's Have the Conversation, on Spotify. So you'll be able to listen and or watch if you're just joining us. But yes, parenting decolonize. It's happening, fam. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, mods. You guys stepped in at
Thank
the
you,
last
mods.
minute.
Thank you. Yeah, blocking bitches left and right. I love it.
How the fuck am I supposed to put this on my YouTube?
Oh, sorry.
Girl, bye. Do you hear me how I talk? You're going to get this shit the way you're going to get it. We getting liberated or not. I'm like, that's it.
Decolonize language. They just words.
That's right. Fuck yeah. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Are y'all open? No, it's not Wednesday. Damn it. God, I hate this. It's my favorite restaurant right there. Shea Butter Jones. And they only open on the days that I have clients now. But I'll be there tomorrow for breakfast. But I'm doing keto now. Don't judge me. So I'm going to need my bodega without the bread. Yeah, that's it. See y'all.